Today we're speaking with Randy Louis Cox, the author of the new book 715 at 50, The Night Henry Aaron Changed Baseball and the World Forever. This book was released in March 2024 by Summer Game Books, a month before the 50th anniversary of Henry Aaron's breaking Babe Ruth's all-time career home run record. So welcome, Randy. How are you doing?
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me, KP. I appreciate it. And we're really excited about the book and Henry Aaron. We're pretty much celebrating his life all year with several tributes. And as I mentioned to you earlier, they've developed a stamp, postage stamp that they're going to be unveiling, that they've unveiled on the 31st at Truist. And they also have done a statue that was unveiled 2 or 3 weeks ago at the Baseball Hall of Fame. So there's a lot of things to talk about with Henry Aaron. The book is mainly focused on the 715 home run and the home run chase before that. And we have a lot of interesting items in there that we were able to talk to some of the participants in the game itself. Um, Ron Reed was the winning pitcher of the game, and Buzz Capra was the pitcher who saved the game. And we both have chapters in the book on them. Plus, a gentleman named Bob Hope was the publicity director for the Braves at that time. But we've devoted a full chapter to him, and he has some real good insights on what happened, because he was the one that had the job to assign photographer passes and reporter passes, and there was about 300 reporters at that game and 100 photographers. And it was quite a night for Atlanta, and very, very exciting. And we tried to capture the atmosphere of the game and some of the things leading up to it. And we have appreciated the fans that have come by and seen us at the near the ballpark at the baseballism stores. And we also have the book available online at Amazon and Summer Game Books. And we think folks will like to read it as a reminiscence of 50 plus years ago now. We've already had the 50th anniversary, which was a couple of months ago, and that was a big deal at the Truist Park. And we really celebrating Aaron's life all year, because the Atlanta History Center has an exhibit called More Than Brave, and they're celebrating his life. And the exhibit will be there at the History Center in Atlanta through next summer, when the All-Star game is played in Atlanta. So got a lot of little things going on, and we appreciate the fans that have talked to us. And we took a trip, my wife and I, out west. We got back about 2 weeks ago, where we went around to see some sites, and we went to some of the baseballism stores in Milwaukee, where the where the Brewers were, the Field of Dreams, where they filmed the movie, St. Louis, St. Louis Cardinals. We went to the ball game there, and also Arlington, where the Texas Rangers. So we kind of toured the country a little bit. We sold a few books and talked to people, and it was a lot of fun. And I love talking to these fans. Just about every fan will say, well, my mom was there, or my cousin was there at the game. And they get so excited, and they say, well, I'm going to get this book to give to them. I think they'll enjoy it. And that's what we just really enjoy, talking to all walks of life and all different fans from different teams everywhere we go. And we certainly enjoy that.
The book again is titled 715 at 50, the night Henry Aaron changed baseball and the world forever. So Randy, that means you must carry a lot of copies of your book everywhere you go.
Well, I keep a few in a car in the truck just in case. Um, it's kind of funny. We were coming back from the ballpark a few weeks ago, and one of the gentlemen who had bought a book from us, he found a couple that was friends of his, and he waved me down. We were actually going to the truck, and he waved me down and said, "Hey, you need to talk to him and get a book." And they bought a book from me, and we took pictures, and we try to take pictures of all the fans and everything, because they're so nice and have such great stories. And yeah, I'd like to I'd like to put that into another book, because all the stories that they've told me, and they're real baseball fans. KP, they're really good baseball fans, and they enjoy watching the teams now, and they have a lot of history of what went on. The Braves went from very very little attendance in the 70s, when they were when Hank Aaron was going for the record in 73, 74. The attendance was way down. You would think that you would have uh, a lot of folks that would be anxious to see, but there just wasn't that many. In fact, they were afraid that they was not going to have a sellout for that game on April the 8th, where he broke the record. And if they didn't have a sellout, that means the folks in Atlanta watching on TV, they would be blacked out. They couldn't see the game. So what happened was it did sell out at the last minute. It was on TV for everybody to watch, and people started to get excited about the home run record. The only thing, the Braves went for years and years and years, and they did not. They were like what they call the second division, until the early '90s, when the Braves started to get players like Tom Glavine, Steve Avery, Chipper Jones, and Hank Aaron was executive for the Braves in that era. After, of course, he retired in '76, and he brought a lot of those players to up from the minors, the farm teams, and he got them on the squad, on the Brave squad, and we of course won the World Series in '95. So even after his great 23-year career with the Braves, and then at last 2 years with the Milwaukee Brewers, he had a great career as working as an executive in player development, and getting some new prospects up there. So he was very instrumental even after he had finished his playing career. And I think that exhibit at the History Center, I think that honors him as more than brave, that he did a lot of things for younger players. In fact, Dusty Baker and Ralph Garr, who were on that '74 team. Dusty Baker was actually on deck when Aaron hit the 715th home run, and they were Hank Aaron was their mentors, was their mentor, and they developed into great players, and of course Dusty Baker into a great manager, and so he did a lot of things for a lot of folks and he was such a humble guy. I did get to, if I could just tell you two quick stories. One, the first time I met him was when he was getting ready to hit his 600th home run. I was a journalism student at Georgia State, and I was able to go cover the game for the journalism school. and he hit the home run. We got to talk to him, and we asked him if he was thinking about 715, and he said, I'm just not really thinking about that now. That's a long way off. So 3 years later, he was getting ready to hit the 715. He hit it on that night in April. And after he'd hit it and was congratulated, and they did some things with the president of the Braves, I got to actually go talk to him for just a second and shake his hand. And I told him congratulations, and he said thank you. And he was so humble and so just a great guy. And that is featured in the book. And I like to tell that as an eyewitness of the event. It's something that's just always been a part of me, because I had considered Hank Aaron and Mickey Mantle. Those were my favorite players back as far as the 50s. So I've been a big Braves fan since then, and I still enjoy watching it.
Did you have to remind Hank Aaron about that conversation where he hit his 600 home run and mentioning that he wasn't thinking about 715? Did that come up?
That would have been great if I had remembered that. There was so much things going on, but it's true. It's true. It seemed like a long way away. He'd had 115 home runs that he hit between 71 was when he hit his 600. So 3 years later, he was on 715. So what it was, he didn't hit like 60 homers every year. He hit like between 35 and 45. I think 44 or 45 was the most, but it was so consistent. I mean, you could like set your watch by it. And once they got moved from County Stadium in Milwaukee down to Atlanta, which we call the launching pad, things really started happening, and you could see his home run record going up. And seriously, with the way the wind carried out there, it made for more of a hitter's park, So I don't think he was real thrilled at first to come down south, but the Atlanta fans loved him, and he did so well. And after, like I said, he retired from baseball. He came back as an executive and worked with the Braves, and it just turned out to be a great career. He was a great humanitarian.
Randy, you also mentioned you wanted to share a second story, and so that was the first story. What was the second story that you wanted to share as well?
Well, the 600th home run, that was the first story, and the second story was the 715th. That's the two times that I was able to talk to him. I did manage to get his autograph from a friend of mine that happened to see him in downtown Atlanta a few years ago. That she was working with the Department of Agriculture where I was working, and she got his autograph and to sign it to me, and I thought that was real nice. I wanted to show you one quick thing, and it's, you might want to. Can you see this picture?
Oh, yes. That looks like it's at home plate. There's a crowd gathering.
Yeah. This is one of my favorite pictures. Of course, I didn't take it because I'm actually in it. If you look at the arrow there, that's me right below that white arrow.
Right.
I was taking pictures, and one of the Atlanta Journal photographers had snapped that picture, and I saw it in a book done by a guy named Paul Crater with Atlanta History Center. And I asked him if I could reproduce that picture in my book, and he said, sure, that'd be fine. And I like to talk to people and tell people that say, well, were you really there? And I said, yes, there I am. I thought that was kind of neat because I was taking pictures of other people. I wasn't worried, about taking pictures of myself, but that's on the front of the book. And we do have about 70 pictures in the book. 44, Hank Aaron's number, is the number of the pictures we took that night, including including the home run, which is of course on the cover and everything. And I think folks will enjoy it. It's free shipping on Summer Game books, and like I said, you can get it on Amazon, and it's in hardback and paperback. So I hope folks will tune in and get the book, and maybe come by Truist sometime and see us in Atlanta. And we enjoy meeting all those fans. We really do.
Now, Randy, of course, you mentioned earlier as well that the pitchers, the winning pitcher, the pitcher that saved the game on a night that Henry Aaron hit his 715th home run, they are featured in the book itself. So I'm assuming that you were able to maintain relationships with some of these players who were involved in that game. So I'm guessing that it wasn't too difficult to reach back out to them when you had the idea to produce this book, and I'm sure that they were quite receptive as far as like speaking about that night.
Yes, in fact, Ron Reed, he lives about 5 miles. I live in Lilburn, Georgia, and he lives about 5 miles from here. And I was able to get in touch with him, and also Buzz Capra lives in Chicago, and they were going to have this 50th anniversary of the home run. And I had mentioned to Ron, I think they're going to have this thing coming up. Have you been invited? And he said he had not been. So I had emailed the chairman of the Braves board and said, Ron Reed is right here in Atlanta. You need to invite him along with Buzz Capra, and he did. And they came to the anniversary game, and they were prominent amongst some of the others. Dusty Baker was there, Ralph Garr, and about 7 or 8 of the other players that had played on that team. And of course, Billy Aaron was there, and they had a good celebration a few weeks ago, and it was a real nice celebration, and we had like I said, we got free tickets to the game since we were there. So there was about 70 or 75 that could prove that they were at the game, had pictures or whatever, and of course I had my book, and we all kind of sat together and took pictures and had a good time, and enjoyed being there with all of the folks that were at the ball at that game. That was 50 years ago. So I call us the survivors. But it was fun.
Absolutely, Randy. And you mentioned, of course, like going to different ballparks and having fans come up to you and chatting about stories, whether it was their parents who are big fans. Of course, this was 50 years ago when Henry Aaron broke that record. So how do you think that Aaron's career and this specific milestone, how do they resonate with fans and athletes across different generations? Because a lot of fans weren't even born yet, but they still know about Henry Aaron and his great accomplishments. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think this is people aren't going to forget Henry Aaron for a long time because of the length of his career. Because of his statistics, he still leads in several statistics. One statistic that I thought you might be interested in is even with his 755 home runs, if you just took those away from him, he would still have 3,000 hits. So that shows what kind of a hitter. I mean, he wanted to get on base, to knock some runs in, and he wasn't just trying to get home runs, but they came easy for him, and he was just a team player. And in fact, I put this in my book. As far as all-stars, we just had the all-star game. Hank Aaron was in 25 all-star games, And they say, well, what, he just played 23 years? I said, well, yes, but see, there was 2 years that they had two All-Star games. And I think it was 59 and 60, 1959. And that's when they did two during the summer. So he was so well represented, and came up from the Mobile when he was playing with the semi-pro league, the Mobile Bay Bears. His high school didn't have a baseball team, so he started playing with the minor league teams, semi-pro, and then the Braves, of course, were interested in him and Willie Mays, and the New York Giants were interested in Aaron and Willie Mays, and a $250 difference um, made it so that Aaron went to the Braves and Mays to the Giants, because the Braves offered him $250 more than the Giants did. Can you imagine having both of those guys in your outfield? That would have been something. But Willie Mays, of course, just passed away, but he had a great career too, and he was one of Aaron's good friends, and there was no rivalry there. They got along real good. So, of course, he got along real good with everybody. There was some hate mail. He did get some hate mail during that home run chase, but Bob Hope, who was the publicity director, told me that the hate mail was a small minority, and it was. Most of the mail that he got was very positive, and folks were really excited about Atlanta finally getting a team, the record for the home runs, and then later on getting the World Series championship, because the Milwaukee Braves came down here. They had won championship in '57, and Aaron and Ed Matthews were a big part of it, and we wanted a championship too, but it came until '95, and then of course we won one 3 years ago in 2021. So we trying to keep that history. The Braves, of course, been in business 152 years, I guess, and the longest single franchise still going. So it's been a rich history, and Henry Aaron certainly has his part. Did his part in the history of the Braves, and then of course the Brewers last couple of years. So he started in Milwaukee and he ended up in Milwaukee, and it was lucky that they had the designated hitter then, so he was able to do that in those last 2 years. So, but he was a great player, and just a great humanitarian philanthropist too.
That's a great piece of trivia right there, Randy, about how Hank Aaron started his career in Milwaukee and ended it in Milwaukee, but on different franchises. Same as Babe Ruth, started in Boston with the Red Sox and ended in Boston with the Braves as well. But you mentioned also Willie Mays, and that's something that I wanted to kind of ask you about, because you mentioned, I believe, Mickey Mantle was one of your other favorite players growing up. And of course, in terms of the media coverage, it was Duke Snider, it was Willie Mays, it was Mickey Mantle. And I would say that it seemed like Hank Aaron was maybe an afterthought. And, you mentioned Hank Aaron being humble and being good friends with Willie Mays. That was something I wanted to ask you, if there was any hint of jealousy or bitterness, but I think you covered that, and that just speaks to the character of Hank Aaron. Just that, even though he maybe was overlooked as far as being the best player behind because all the attention was on the New York players, that Hank Aaron just went out there and kept producing year after year after year.
Well, that's for sure, because in '57 you had the mighty Yankees won in the American League, and these upstart Milwaukee Braves won the National League. So obviously the New York teams, the New York media is going to focus mainly on the New York players, Mantle and Yogi Berra. and Aaron did not get as much publicity. And like we were saying, he wasn't flamboyant. He made everything look easy. And and some of the other players, I know Willie, he had some great catches, and he was he was just a great all around player. But it was like Aaron didn't seem to get quite the publicity until he started getting close to Babe Ruth's record, and that's when he started to get some folks excited. And that first series with Cincinnati, they were going to set him out and have the hopefully have the home run at home, but he did play in the first game in Cincinnati, and he tied the record, and they were going to sit the rest of the series out. But Bowie Kuhn, the commissioner, ordered Eddie Matthews to play him at least one more game, which he did on that Sunday. He did not get a hit, and that moved the game to Atlanta, where he hit the 715th home run. So it was one of those things where Aaron was so efficient that they didn't get to drag it out, and get attendance to come in. They were expecting to have 2 or 3 games with sellouts, but Aaron did that on the first pitch, 714, and then on 715 he was on the first pitch. So he was unnaturally efficient about. He wanted to get it over with. He was ready. It'd been a 2-year chase, and he was ready to go ahead and get that finished and get on with the season. So.
You mentioned Hank Aaron being efficient as far as hitting those home runs, and another person who was efficient in his job was the PR guru Bob Hope, whom you referenced a couple of times. So it's great that you included Bob Hope in the book, because a lot of fans just think of the players, the managers as the big stars, but it was kind of very neat that you took the time to include the PR person Bob Hope in your book as well. And I'm sure that his family, very appreciative of him being included as well.
Yeah, Bob Hope was really Hank Aaron's best friend, and he and Dusty Baker were the only official pallbearers at Hank's funeral. There were about 100 honorary pallbearers, but Bob was right up there, and we have a nice picture of Bob and Hank and Bob's grandson when he was like about 6 months old, and we included that in the book, and you could tell by if you read the interview of him that he was Hank's best friend and confidant, and he left the Braves, I believe it was in '79, to go work for Coca-Cola. And of course, Hank had come back by then, but he kept up with the Aaron family, and Bob's still working in Atlanta. He's working as a PR company, and I get to talk to him from time to time. And he went when he went to when they had the statue at the Hall of Fame. He was invited to go, and he took pictures and sent them to me, and I thought those were real good. We included on our slide presentation when we go around and talk to the clubs and libraries, and we like to include a lot of the little extra things that that's happened, since Hank Aaron's death 3 years ago. So, but he was a real best friend.
We're speaking with Randy Louis Cox, the author of the new book, 7 to 15 at 50, The Night Henry Aaron Changed Baseball and the World Forever. This book came out in March 2024 by Summer Game Books. And of course, Randy, as mentioned, is out at the ballpark, even in Atlanta. So you can come and check him out, check the book out, and chat with him. Any other stories you'd like to share, Randy, with the listeners?
Well, I do want to tell you one quick story. This was in 1957, and I was just kind of getting interested in baseball. we had a Cub Scout den that we met once a week, and we would. It was in the afternoon, and it just happened to be we were looking in October of '57, and they had the World Series. We watched some of the World Series, and we saw Hank Aaron, and of course Mickey Mantle with the Yankees. And what was so cool, and I did not find this out until I started doing research for the book last year. We were, of course, Cub Scouts in our Cub Scout uniforms watching Hank Aaron. Well, we didn't know it then, but I felt, like I said, I found out 2 years ago that Hank Aaron was an Eagle Scout in Boy Scouts. So he was an Eagle Scout, and if I had known that then, I could have said, "We're watching an Eagle Scout win the World Series." So we have a little thing in the back of the book about some of the honors, not only statistic wise, but some of the things that he's done. And that was one story that I always like to tell folks.
Randy, that brings up a question I wanted to ask you. Didn't get a chance earlier, but you just mentioned about research, and that's something that I always fascinated about with authors, because obviously you were there the night that this milestone home run occurred. So I was kind of wondering like how you did approach researching for this book, because I was wondering if you had to do much research, or like you had to dig up new information. Did you have to look back at your files or at the notes that you did, or even maybe the times when you interviewed him, or you recorded something on tape? So how did you approach that when you came up with this book, 715 at 50?
Yeah, the way it started out was the photos that we took that night. I had been given the photos by the photographer when I left the newspaper that I was working for. I was working for the Valley Times News, and I was covering the game for the paper. And we had a sleeve of about 100 negatives, and some of the pictures were in the paper the next couple of days, but many of them were not. I'd say 40 or 50. And I had the negatives, and I said, of course, Hank Aaron passed away in 21. And I said, I'm going to get these pictures out, these negatives, and get them printed. And I did. And lo and behold, after 48 years, the scans turned out really, really sharp. I mean, there was a couple that, I didn't do so good on, but I came up with enough photos and talked to Walt Friedman of Summer Game Books. And he said, well, let's just don't do a picture book. Let's add some stuff to it. So of course I had my eyewitness account that I would be telling. I had the internet has all of the newspapers on newspapers.com, and you can look up these articles that the other journalists were doing, and get other quotes from Hank Aaron and sidebars on some of the other players. And then I was able to find Ron Reed, and that started the whole thing, interviewing folks. Buzz Capra, and of course Bob Hope was very instrumental, because he was the gatekeeper down there, and he knew all what was going on. So it was kind of a combination, and I'm glad that I was able to look up some other opinions and other interviews that even go back to like the 50s when Hank Aaron was in Milwaukee. So we just put that all together, and we think it's a complete retelling of that night and the home run chase. And I hope folks will get a copy of it, and if they get it on Amazon, maybe they can make a comment. We would love that.
That's fabulous. And yeah, because like I was wondering about those pictures myself, and a lot of them came up pretty good. And all these years later, people are seeing them for the first time. So that's fantastic. So, Randy, I appreciate you taking the time here. The book is called 7:15 at 50, The Night Henry Aaron Changed Baseball and the World Forever. You can find it on Amazon. You can go to the ballpark and meet up with Randy, and I'm sure that you enjoy this book. So, thank you, Randy, for joining us, and let's keep in touch and all the best with the book.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate being on your show, KP. You take care.
You too.
Okay.